Hello, hello, and welcome to yet another episode of NMFA Presents Military Family News. I'm your host, MJ Boyce. I'm the digital audience manager here at the National Military Family Association, otherwise known as NMFA, because our community loves our acronyms. We have a fantastic show for you today. I cannot wait to introduce our amazing guest, Josie Beets, the Associate Director over at the Office of Spouse Employment in the, Pentagon. We'll get to her in just a second and flesh out what we're going to talk about, which is all things SpouseWorks, which is the newly reimagined hub for military career and education support. Before we get to that, I'm going to go ahead and run through a few updates from, what's happening in the world and at NMFA. All righty. First up, let me fix this for you. All right, so we all know that the fiscal year 2027 National Defense Authorization Act, otherwise known again as an acronym NDAA, is currently in making its way through Congress. We're watching it closely over here at NMFA. Trust me on that. We will update you as we get that information once things get firmed up. But in the meantime, I suggest you head over to our Military Family Action Center to get involved and weigh in on topics that are impacting you and your military life. You can send a pre-drafted letter through the Military Family Action Center directly to your members of Congress, and we'll be dropping that link shortly, so that's awesome. Next up, I've got a special invite for all of y'all. Next up, we will be releasing our Military Teen Experience Survey results on August 4th in sunny San Diego, California at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And you can register and look at the data points yourself and see the presentation and the release yourself if you register at the link that we're about to drop in the comments. I highly recommend you have to hear what military teens are saying today in 2026 because they had a lot to say, and that information is, well, I can't tell you enough. It's gold. Lastly, but certainly by no means leastly, I want to say a happy 90th birthday to Senator Elizabeth Dole. Yes, everybody, if you're on here right now and you're streaming live, throw up those hearts and those hugs right now for Senator Dole, 90 years young and still kicking it with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. Shout out. Happy birthday, Senator Dole. All right. Now it's time for me to introduce our amazing guest. Let me just go ahead and bring her up on the screen. Everyone, I would like to introduce you to Josie Beets. And so just so I don't mess anything up, because, the Department of Defense, the Department of War, MJ kind of misses out on some things. So I'm going to let you take the reins. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do over at the Office of Spouse Employment.
Thanks, MJ. I really appreciate it. It's so great to be with you all and the NMFA family today. So my name is Josie Beets. I am the Associate Director in the Office of Spouse Employment working on SpouseWorks. What that all means is I get to quarterback with our great team the spouse career resources that we offer to spouses. We sit within what we call military, community, and family policy in the Pentagon, in the Department of War. I always like to tell people sort of where that puts us within the sort of hierarchy in DOW, right? We have a direct line to Secretary of War. We're within the Office of the Secretary of War. And I say that because I want everyone to know that that's the level of support that spouse employment programs have within the department, that, that direct line of accountability means a lot, right? We know spouse employment is a huge issue for all families, and so does our leadership. So earlier this year, we actually stood up the Office of Spouse Employment. Our program in our office has been around for some time, but we've never been our own directorate. That change, which we'll talk a little bit more about as well, was not just in name or org chart, it means that we have a direct line of accountability to our leadership in Deputy Assistant Secretary of War, Mr. Stephen Simmons, and for those above him in the chain up to SecWar. So it's a really exciting change. There's a lot of movement around spouse employment in the department these days, as hopefully folks have seen. But I'm really excited to be working in this position on this team at this time with the opportunities that we have to advance this issue. So really great to be with you today.
Yay! And just for the record, audience, I do know Josie. I've known her for a couple minutes now. And
we won't talk about how long. I mean,
we won't.
nobody needs to
girl,
carbon date
I'm
that.
not dating myself. Write that down. No, ma'am. Okay, so you kind of delved in a little bit about the Office of Spouse Employment and what it does. I just want to throw this out here, okay? I know I don't look old enough, people. I have a mini mill spouse. My daughter decided we made this life look so cool. She joined the club, right? Okay. If we were to be talking to a different generation, point blank, what is the Office of Spouse Employment and what does it do?
Yeah, so we've thought really intentionally about this, not to get too nerdy on you, like to the point where we have crafted a mission statement for our office. And I'm going to share it with you now. You can also find it on our website, spouseworks.mil. There's an About Us page that has this on it, has our vision on it, has our whole, government staff on it. But the Office of Spouse Employment leads the way for military spouse employment through policies, programs, and partnerships by helping spouses grow skills, get career advice, and find jobs. Every word in that is super intentional. We execute the SpouseWorks program. That's what we're probably most well known for. That program used to be called the Spouse Education and Career Opportunities Program, or like you said with the acronyms and NMFA, we love our acronyms. We called it SECO. Well, I'll talk a little bit about the refresh and the rebrand in a minute. But we're more than that, right? And so we're working to improve policy, right? Policy is what impacts us military families every day. And so we're working to influence policy, especially at the Department of War level, on PCSs and civilian personnel and hiring, all of those things that touch the spouse employment sphere that we know we can weigh in on good policy and positively impact our spouses. We're increasing sort of how we show up in partnerships, right? So we've always had what we call our military spouse employer partnerships and our partners there. But looking at other strategic partnerships that we can develop across not just government, but in the military support organization space as well, about how we can better work together with our friends like NMFA, with folks like Hired Heroes USA, American Corporate Partners across the board. A lot of them already engage with us as part of what we call our Spouse Ambassador Network, which is other organizations that sort of work on the spouse employment space, but we're leveling up that. So that's our mission statement. We're super excited about it. But the bulk of what we do is really executing the SpouseWorks program. And that's what I'm really excited to talk to you about today.
That is amazing. I'm super excited too. So kind of just for the record, audience, we're going to be talking about all things SpouseWorks today and this whole reimagined hub. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, shout outs, go ahead and drop those in the comments because we might be able to throw you up on the screen and ask that question live and in living color, which is how often do we get to do that with the subject matter experts? Like, right, we'll be sitting there and we'll be trying to go down the rabbit hole of research. And sometimes we get a hit and sometimes we don't, but we don't often get that window of time with the subject matter experts themselves to ask that question live and in living color. So if you have questions, comments, you just want to shout out Josie because her hair looks amazing today, drop it in the comments like it's hot. So I kind of want to talk about that, going back to the whole acronym situation. SECO has recently been rebranded and is now SpouseWorks, right? So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. That's the new home of the trusted career and education support for peeps like us, military spouses, right? So what exactly is it that changed and why?
It's such a great question. And, on one hand, the great support that we provide to spouses, that foundational support, that's still there. We just changed how we show up for spouses. But even more than just taking sort of what was sort of a disjointed brand experience of like we had SECO and then we had MSEP or the Military Spouse Employment Partnership, and then we had my CAA or my Career Advancement Account. Um, that is all SpouseWorks now. It's a really unified one destination for spouses. That's the piece that we're most excited about, that unified experience. And it needed a little bit of a look refresh. The MSEP partnership logo, as I like to joke, had been the same since it had launched 15 years ago. um, so that's really the core of it. But it's also about showing up differently, right? And making sure we're working across our own programs to find what I like to call the magic. And the magic of the program is when we can make those connections between spouses and employers that lead to professional development, that lead to jobs. And so it's creating more opportunities for that. Um, one of the ways we're doing that I'm also excited to talk about this week is we've expanded what we're calling the SpouseWorks Scholarship, which is the program formerly known as My CAA, provides a $4,000 benefit to spouses for licensing, credentialing, or certification, or towards an associate's degree. Before Monday, that was limited by rank. As of Monday, there is no rank eligibility restriction. So,
What? I'm just saying,
yeah,
people, that's like huge. Like, that's like huge. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that specifically as a pain point from the community, right? When trying to find funding for their education. I am celebrating all of you right now. Please, please look into this because that is pretty amazing.
we're really excited about it, right? And we've got even more plans in the future. But let me tell you a little bit about why we decided to do it. One is, again, not saying how old I am, but I'm old enough to remember when the My CAA program launched, and the department at the time underestimated the popularity of that program, and it ran out of money real fast. And so it's changed a lot over the years, right? And so there are some steps you have to go through to make it happen. We are going to ask that you meet with a career coach. Um, there are a lot of schools out there that qualify for the MyCAA funds that you are worth your time to research from a consumer protection standpoint. We'll put it that way, and our career coaches can help you do that. Our career coaches are also going to help you make sure that education that you're pursuing is going to align with your career goals. I have so many friends who have taken, sort of the personal trainer certification courses or yoga certification courses. And we're just going to remind you, if you want to be an IT project manager, like maybe that's not where you want to spend your $4,000, right? So, so there's some of that, but we're super excited about that expansion, and we did it because we wanted to underscore sort of how we're approaching things with spouses now through the refresh brand of SpouseWorks. We want to make things easier. I know, MJ, you talked about your baby mill spouse that you have now, right? Your baby who's now a mill spouse. Um, we need to show up differently for a new generation of spouses. And we need to know that how, MJ, you and I might talk to one another or have talked to one another is different than how our spouses are talking to one another now. And so we're taking baby steps toward that with this big step of expanding eligibility.
I would, I I am so tempted to say, oh, like, and this is no offense to anybody out there. I'm just thinking internally of my own household. I keep thinking like we should have an advisory like council or group of some sort of our next gen mill spouses, if you will,
Mhm.
to kind of guide that. You know what I'm saying? Ask the questions to this. And I just think of my daughter every time. And I know that she's a little bit clueless at times with all of the resources. It's like going to Starbucks for the first time, right? You're a little overwhelmed with all of the things and you're like, can I just get a coffee? You know what I mean? And
Right?
so in that vein, I think of her like she wouldn't know how to answer those questions. She wouldn't know the questions to ask. So
Mhm.
if I were to say to you, what would she or could she expect? Now she's, obviously she has put her career on hold. She has been a nanny. She has then had kids and then full force into the Air Force life. Shout out Air Force. Um, and I mean, it's a struggle. So she's a little bit delayed in her like, what do I want to be when I grow up? She's in school, second term. But what would someone in say her position who might not know what her career is going to look like, just in general, let alone with military life? What would she expect to find on SpouseWorks?
So the best thing that she can do when she gets to SpouseWorks is to click on our live chat button and set up an appointment with a career coach. And now, listen, friends, I know some of my friends don't like to be on the phone, okay? But I promise you, talking with a career coach is 45 minutes where you get to focus on yourself and your future. Now, it's in the context of the family that you have right now, right? So we're never going to try and blow past that. But it's a real investment in yourself and it's all free. And what our career coaches can do, first of all, they all have master's degrees at least. Many of them have more. They all have at least 4 years experience. Many of them have more. They all have at least one counseling and career counseling certification. And some of them come from, higher education career services offices. And so they've worked with people on what do I want to be when I grow up? And I think one of the terrifying and wonderful things about being military spouse is you are given this opportunity every 2 to 3 years to reinvent yourself if you should like, and you can redefine what you want to be when you grow up. I am a lawyer by trade. Do I practice law every day? No, I don't. I never do. Right. But I'm so happy with what I get to do now because I get to serve my community. So a career coach is going to help you walk through all of that. They're also, if you just don't even know where to start, they're going to get you started with some career assessments. You can actually go on SpouseWorks right now and access our career assessments page and take something called Tradeify. It takes 90 seconds and it gives you sort of just like a general view of like, hey, you would be good at these types of jobs or these types of occupations. Um, that career coaching experience is really at the core of what we do, and really can be sort of your air traffic control as a spouse to dial into all the other resources we have to offer. Um, I get it. Maybe you don't want to set up a 45-minute coaching appointment right now. Um, I have what I call my easy button, which is our on-demand resume review service, where you can take your resume and the job description you're applying for, email it to us. Our career coach is going to sit down with it, review it, and get it back to you within 72 hours with feedback. Now, we know in this day and age, you need to tailor that resume to that job description. So that's the best use of your time and their time. But they can also just do a general review. And then you can kind of see a little bit of what our career coaching is all about. If you've already got that polished resume. If you have no resume, they're going to help you build it. So it's really, really a great piece of what we offer. And MJ, I know you and I both know spouses who have paid for career coaches out there. And I cry every night because I have some really highly qualified career coaches that work for free. I also want to say they all have the military cultural competency. We require that a certain number of our career coaches be military spouses themselves. We surpass that number every month. And many, I want to say about 70% plus, have a military affiliation of some kind. So,
Well, that is comforting Because, I mean, just like when you're going for mental health or behavioral health, appointments and stuff like that, you want to make sure that your provider is knowledgeable about what your life looks like because, some of the things you might be talking about might look different through the lens of military life. So you definitely want somebody who has that cultural competency. And so same rules apply here. So I'm really encouraged to hear that. Absolutely. We had some comments you might have seen, especially when it came to removing the rank requirement for my CAA, formerly known as my CAA, now SpouseWorks scholarship. I'm with you, people. Like, I'm with you. This is a learning curve. We're in this together. Okay. Because together we're stronger. Write it down. But they're very, very excited about it. And then we did get another question here. By the way, everyone, keep it coming. We've got a little bit of time to answer your questions. Okay. So Natalie would like to know, what specific gap or challenge did DOD, now DOW, identify that made extending SpouseWorks eligibility to 365 days after separation necessary? And what outcomes do you hope this change will improve for military spouses? So I think that's kind of like a two-parter. What specific gap or challenge was identified that made extending SpouseWorks eligibility beyond a year beyond separation necessary? So we'll start with that one.
Yeah. So I love eligibility question, right? So our spouses are, I'm going to start with who's eligible for SpouseWorks. So it is active duty, Guard, and Reserve. All active duty, Guard, and Reserve. There's a couple of different rules around the scholarship with National Guard and Reserve component. You got to be on those Title 10 orders, but otherwise you can use all of our services, including the fellowship, which I haven't even talked about yet. But you are also eligible for our services if you are a surviving spouse. And you are also eligible for our services if you are 365 days post-separation from the military. And that's based on that Congress makes that definition. And so the money we get says that those are the people we can serve. And so that's the identifier there. I know when that expansion happened probably a decade ago to that 365 post-separation, it was really to enable transition, right? We had seen so many issues around transition. I think we still see some, but allowing access to Military OneSource and to SpouseWorks, formerly SECO, was seen as a net positive to impact that transition space. So it all, like many things, it all comes down to Congress and the money on that piece. For outcomes, I think you're talking about the expansion for the scholarship that we're hoping to change, or I'm not exactly sure there, but again,
I think it went with, what outcomes do you hope the change, making it 365 days after separation? What outcomes do you hope this will change?
Yeah. So the 365 eligibility post-separation, it's sort of been around for a while. Again, the goal there is just to enable a good transition. We know that there is a lot of information about, or a lot of data and research done about how, if a spouse is employed, they can provide, it provides for a better transition for the service member, right? It makes that landing a little bit more soft. And so doing whatever we can do to support the spouse through that process is a key piece of making success happen. We also, have sort of moved some of our metrics around, getting jobs for spouses is super important. But even more so than that, we want to make sure that you feel like the program supports you, right? I like to say to spouses, I don't have a magic bag of jobs that I can give you, but what I can do is I can provide you with world-class, top-tier support through that process to make sure you are leveraging every tool in your toolbox and in our toolbox to make it happen, to get the career that you want on the time that you want. So I hope that answered the question.
And if it doesn't, Natalie, you could throw a follow-up in the comments, as should anyone else. You mentioned really quick, you haven't even had a chance yet to talk about these fellowships. What's that about?
Yes. So, super excited about this program, the SpouseWorks Fellowship. This is 12-week fellowships where spouses can go and work with companies. The department pays a stipend, page that pays their wages during that time. So the company brings them on at no cost to that company. Um, 12-week fellowship, basically, where you get to try the job before you have to commit to it, and where the employer gets to do sort of what we have, jokingly called the extended interview, the 12-week interview, um, to make sure that the talent fits. Um, we did a 3-year pilot of this called the Military Spouse Career Accelerator Pilot, or MSCAP. Again, no more acronyms ever. So we're calling it the SpouseWorks Fellowship now. That pilot was very successful. We saw, I want to say 4,200 folks applied to the program, 3,000 were accepted into the candidate pool, and 1,000 spouses received fellowships. Another 300 didn't even get to do a chance to do a fellowship because they were just hired directly into the companies. And what we saw is once companies saw the value of spouse talent and the caliber of folks that they could access through our programs, they brought more and more folks on. Um, we we launched it as a permanent program and not a pilot in January, and we're seeing great numbers of spouses, sort of keeping that consistency in numbers of placements. However, there are still a whole lot more spouses that are available for fellowships than we have employers to provide them with. So we are working hard, very hard, to partner with employers to make sure we're taking all barriers off the table and that they can bring those spouses on and show the good work that they can do. While spouses also get to make, a bit of a wage and grow their resumes.
That's pretty amazing. Okay. And at the risk of dating myself, which by the way, people, hi, I know I don't look it yet again. Um, I wish to God back in my day, yeah, I said it, that we had this because I truly do wonder how now I don't want to steal my old person struggle. Like, right? Like that led me to here talking to you right now. I don't want to steal my struggle. That's part of my history. But at the same time, I wonder how much further, right? Like further and more quickly I would have gotten there if we would have had resources like this, right? We had resources, they were fledgling, if you will. And then it took people like myself, like you, like many of you out there to kind of speak up a little bit and say, hey, the actual problem is kind of this. Can someone help? And we listen, right? We listen here at NMFA. You listen there over at the Office of Spouse Employment. Like we're hearing the actual stuff that's happening on the ground and meeting them where they're at. And I love this concept. I especially love the fact that I don't have to memorize any additional acronyms because I don't think I could hold it all in here.
No, I agree, right? And so I do engagements like this. Our staff does engagements like this all the time. And even when we were explaining the programs, there's just like, oh, it's so much and it's so convoluted. And so, I tell people the main customer for this rebrand was me. So that it's easier for me to communicate our programs to you. Um, I'm an Army spouse. I was a baby spouse at Fort Polk, Louisiana, with 2 under 2. I was lucky enough to be able to work there, but then we PCS to Fort Campbell, and there was nothing for me there, and I didn't know where to start. And I didn't feel like didn't see myself or my experience reflected. And so I did connect with other spouses like MJ, like other sort of in our generation, and we did try to make it better. But we also know that military spouses are a renewable resource, and there's a new one every day, and they're going to bring unique experiences and challenges to the services that we serve or the services that we offer. And so we always are open to feedback. I am super Googleable. Um, You can find me on LinkedIn. We also have a lot of mechanisms on our website where you can submit feedback. And so we want to hear your feedback about how the program's working for you, how the program's not working for you, what changes you think we can make. We can't fix all the things, but we are certainly being given the directive these days to fix as many of them as we can. So always keeping that door open to feedback from the community.
Word. And on that note, I know that there's something happening actually right now for our Coastie spouses. Can you just drop a little knowledge on us for that?
Yes. Sorry. Do you see my fidget toy, that my military one source fidget toy that got into the screen there? Sorry. Um, So we expanded eligibility to the Coast Guard at the beginning of July. This is so exciting because, right, Coasties are in Department of Homeland Security, technically not funded by the DOW. So we could not offer services to spouses, but we have all the appropriate agreements in place. We can now offer those services, those SpouseWorks services. And we are having a webinar at 2 p.m. in 27 minutes. Um, but that you can register for if you go to the webpage that MJ has dropped in the chat. It will be recorded. That recording will be posted in a couple of weeks on the website, so you'll be able to access it later if you can't make it. But we're super excited about this expansion, mostly selfishly. I don't have to go to briefings, and when a Coast Guard spouse says, "What about me?" I have to say, "Sorry, we don't serve you." I get to serve those spouses now. One caveat, the scholarship and the fellowship, we are still working that piece out. But my talking point on that is stay tuned and pay
Stay
attention.
tuned. Write it down, people. Make it a hashtag. Stay tuned on
Stay
this.
tuned
Yeah.
on the scholarship and fellowship for Coast Guard spouses. Yes.
And if like once you do work it out, or you have something fleshed out, whenever that happens, you just let us know at NMFA, and the next time we come on, we'll include it in our updates on the next show. How about that?
I love that.
I
I
love
love
it
that.
too.
That's perfect.
I love it. Okay, so before we go, I know anybody who has any questions, we do have a little bit of an Oconus following, and everybody there is, snoring logs right now.
Hmm.
So we'll collect those. And just so everybody knows, we have a tight line with Josie and her colleagues. We really want to help you guys figure out how to go through SpouseWorks. We want you to see the value in it for you and your specific dynamic of military life. And so if you have any questions that are a little more specific, drop them in the comments. We'll send them right over. Or, maybe I'll just be on Facebook one night and I'll just write it down and ask Josie right there. So if we don't get to your questions, comments, or concerns as you're watching this, please know they will be answered directly after, or after they're asked. Josie, before we go, would you like to have, I'm going to give you the floor. You've got the floor. No, putting you on the spot. Is there anything that you'd like to say to our audience today of military spouses?
I think an offer and an ask. An offer is, like I said, we're always open to feedback, so please bring it our way. Do try out our services. Log in to the portal, fill out your profile so that employers can see that you're ready for work. Apply to the fellowship. Um, use these programs and see how they can work for you. Right, we are run by the DOW, so we know it's a little sticky sometimes, but give us that feedback. And then my only other ask is give us the benefit of the doubt sometimes. I'm passionate about this topic. I joke to people that I complained so much about spouse employment that they put me in charge of it. And so, I know what it's like, and I know we need strong advocates, but we are partners with all of you in making better outcomes for military spouses. But we don't know what we don't know, and spouses don't know what they don't know. And so we're committed to working together to make sure every spouse has access to all of our programs and all of our support, and in the way that they need to be shown up for. So.
Perfect. That is perfect. And I appreciate you very much. I really love that you said, you said something about budget shortfalls, and it doesn't, I used to tell spouses from like day one of me actually ever getting involved, I used to say the one thing that cannot, under any circumstances, be cut from any budget are other military spouses. We are each other's greatest resource.
Hmm.
And through those connections, asking this person, connecting this person, things like this happen, right? Like,
Hmm.
and people like yourself end up in positions like the one you're in because you've been there, man. You've been there. It's like nice to see. I'm not gonna lie, it's nice to see. It's like, oh, she's telling my story and she's living the dream, man. I love it.
Well, listen, it is nice to see you anytime, MJ, and it's nice to see my friends at NMFA anytime. I really appreciate this opportunity to chat with you guys and to go in front of your audience, and really can't wait for all of those questions that might come afterwards.
Awesome. Tune in, everyone, for the next episode of Military Family News. In the meantime, I'm just going to throw our tagline on there. You can see it live here. Together, we're stronger. Bye, everybody.